On today's show, Victor Wembanyama goes crazy in the first half. We're going to talk about a very close Knicks-Pacers game that went to overtime, and then Legs is going to give his pendulum guys who could swing the remaining portion of the season. This is the All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, the busiest man in the world. He's Tim Legler. Legs, how you doing?
What's up, man? Good. Philadelphia, man. I'm always happy when I'm in Philly. Got a good one tonight, hopefully. Sixers, Knicks. Knicks had it's a back-to-back, and they went to overtime, so I'm hoping we don't get any last-minute scratches. We're hoping everybody plays. We won't know that probably till later today.
You're on quite the run this year. If I were betting, I would say there are going to be late scratches, just on account of your luck this year.
Don't wish that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Come on. It's just the luck you ran into this year, man. But, yeah, hopefully we get a good one. That should be a very interesting game. I mean, I want to see that outcome of that game. I want to see how it goes.
Big one, man. Particularly with Philadelphia just lurking, man. We'll get into it, but Philadelphia just like they're lurking. Their presence is to be felt in the Eastern Conference. You cannot dismiss this team. And then the Knicks, who have been red hot, it was so weird. They lost 9 out of 11, then win 9 out of 10.
Yep.
And then they get the team with the worst record in the Eastern Conference in their building, and they end up having to go to overtime and eventually lose that game. But it was a very entertaining game, I found.
Yeah, well, I'm glad because we're going to break that game down here in just a second and get your thoughts on why the Knicks fell to the Pacers. What did the Pacers do to win it? But before we get there, I kind of feel like the games, so people know, we try to break down games on this show, on this podcast. Like we always try to just look for, okay, the night ahead, what are the good games? That's where we're going to go. And sometimes we end up talking about the same teams a couple times in a row because it's the only good games. Last night, we did not have a good slate. There were a lot of blowouts. The Suns beat the Mavericks pretty easily. The Rockets beat the Clippers fairly easily. The Spurs beat the Lakers like a drum. The Lakers rested most of their key guys. But still, Victor Wembanyama goes for 40 points and 12 rebounds, basically in a half, and he had 25 points in the first quarter, Legs. I always say with Wemby that his scoring is inconsistent. It's not as efficient as I think most people would think. But it's undeniable that he has these games like this, and he has them somewhat regularly where he's just a scorched earth and there's nothing. His defense is always super impactful, but when he scores 25 and a quarter, there's not that many players. I don't know how many players in the league are capable of scoring 25 and a quarter, and he put it up.
Yeah, and it's we'll get back to the same thing with him when he has these nights. It's early in the game. He starts making jump shots early, like he's capable of doing these kinds of things pretty much every night because you have to guard him a little bit differently. And he just got into a great rhythm with his jumper and it really overwhelmed them last night. So he's special, unique. I mean, he has games where that's not needed for them to win because they've got incredible balance on that team. They've got a lot of guys that contribute from a scoring standpoint. And there's some nights where, 16, 18 points is enough out of him because of his defense and all the help that he can get with the number of guys that are capable of having 15 to 20 point games. So it's not that often he has to or gets a chance to like erupt like this offensively. And he got it going very early, obviously, right out of the gate. He started making shots, and it set up one of these monster nights. But, he's so special defensively. There's plenty of nights that he can give you like an average offensive game or even below average by his standards and still be the most impactful player on the floor because of what he does defensively. That wasn't the case last night. He was the most impactful offensive player, and he always gives you the defense. So when you get both of those on the same night, it kind of looks like what he did.
Yeah, he's 22 years old. He's obviously probably the best defensive player in the NBA by, I think, pretty comfortably, or most impactful at least. And offensively, he's 24-point per game scorer. Last year's 24, this year's 24. Now he's doing that in 29 minutes, so he's doing it under 30 minutes. He probably could be a 27, 28 per game scorer right now. Do you think, if you had to project, do you think he'll ever lead the league in scoring? Like, does he have 32, 33-point per game potential here in the coming years?
I mean, I guess I probably would lean toward yes, that he, maybe he can get up in that 30-point per game range, which is going to put you in the conversation to lead the league in scoring. Now, we've got more guys than ever capable of averaging 30 just because of the way the league is set up and the ways that guys score, more prone to have guys average 30. So 30 might not even get it done in a given year. Maybe it's got to be 32, 33 in a given year. So I'm going to lean toward answering yes to that question, although I do think, as unique as he is because of his size, I also think that length could make it harder for him because it's tough, man, to operate from 25 to 30 feet on the catch when you're being guarded by 6'6", 6'8" guys that are low and low center of gravity, and they're just waiting on your first step. And if you could get hands into him a little bit, it's just harder for him to be able to operate as easily as some of the guys that can average 30 that are in that 6'7" to 6'11" range that can be a little bit quicker with their first step, get to certain spots for those pull-up jumpers. It's sometimes harder for him to get to those spots because he's so long. It's tough to get past certain defenders with the first dribble. Yeah. And so I think that there are going to be some limitations to what he can do offensively, but can he get to in that 30-point per game range? Man, he's so young and he's already at 24. Yeah, I think I'm going to say yes, he can get into that category. Will it ever actually lead the league in scoring? Who knows? Because in any given year, you might have 3-4 guys average 30 in a season now, where maybe you were getting one of those guys before. Now you might average 30 and finish second or third in the scoring race.
Yeah. It's an interesting question for the commenters. I'm curious what you guys think if he is likely to ever lead the league in scoring. Would we have a breaking news here? Is that what we have, Atticus, you're sending me? I'm just pulling it up. Oh yeah, there's this fight. You saw this fight in the Pistons Hornets game the other day. So Shams just announced the suspensions. Isaiah Stewart got 7 games. Miles Bridges got 4. Moussa Diabate got 4. Jalen Duren got 2 games. I'm actually surprised that it's so light for Isaiah Stewart. And it's not like there was tons of violence in that fight. It's just that the league has been so strict about the leaving the bench thing. 7 games is a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a lot, but I'm a little surprised that it wasn't more. Are you surprised with that number?
I thought it could have been up to 10.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
7 to 10 is kind of what I was telling people when they were asking my opinion over the last couple of days. And the reason I thought it could be 10 is just because what you said. I mean, if you even leave the bench now without doing anything, you're going to get suspended. Yeah. So to leave the bench, run to from one end of the court to the other after you've left the bench, and then throw punches. Yeah, I thought that could be 10. I'm not going to sit here and demand that he got 10 games. Somewhere in that 7 to 10 range is what I thought it would be, and they went with 7. Diabate getting 4, that doesn't surprise me, just because of how long it lasted with him and how enraged he was for that long a period of time, to the point where there was several of his own teammates and coaches basically restraining him after it seemed like it was over on the bench, and then kind of helping him to get to the locker room. So not surprised by that either. Same with Bridges. That went on for a while, and he wasn't one of the first 2 guys directly involved. He escalated it. So anytime you're going to escalate it as a third party coming into it, you're going to get, more than a game or 2. And then what was the other one? Duren got 2.
Yeah. Man, I just closed it out.
I think you said Duren got 2 games, which that probably makes the most sense that he got the fewest. I mean, he did basically initiate it with the shove to the face, which is going to get you a game or 2. But then from that point on, he kind of was just backing away from all the action that was coming at him for the most part. So honestly, I think the league did a pretty good job across the board with these.
Yeah, I think so too. I see some people commenting on my mic volume here. It's a little strange. I got it basically all the way up. So sometimes this streaming platform that we use has a little bit of trouble leveling them, and then we'll always have it fixed on the audio side of the podcast. Let's get to our game though from last night, Legs. The Pacers steal a win, 137 to 134 over as you mentioned, the streaking Knicks. And it was a back and forth game. You mentioned 40 plus lead changes in this one. So it was close all the way through. Down to the wire, Jalen Brunson had a couple opportunities, not one, but multiple opportunities to win the game, and just came up short on shots that I feel like he makes every single time. What stood out to you about this one, and how did the Pacers get a win?
I think the first thing that stood out to me is you're looking at this team, and there's been so much talk lately. It's been a national story about what are some of these NBA teams going to do here right down the stretch with a really, really loaded draft and teams that are kind of out of the mix, and what's their approach going to be every night. And here you would think the Pacers would be in that category, right? 13-40 going into the game. But there's nothing about the way they played indicated that they were doing anything other than trying to win that game.
I know.
Yeah. Everybody they had played hard, led by Pascal Siakam, who continues to be one of my 5 favorite players in the league. And maybe I make that list shorter. Maybe it's
really
3. I absolutely have so much admiration and respect for Pascal Siakam, how hard he plays, how consistent he brings the effort, how versatile his game is. He takes every possession seriously on both ends. And it's just and he had some amazing one-on-one plays late in the game and then into overtime that really kind of helped ice the game. So that's what stood out to me more than anything is here you have the Knicks, who have been, what a wild roller coaster, right? I just mentioned a little while ago, they lose 9 out of 11. There's all kinds of chatter around the Knicks. Like, what's going on with the Knicks? And then they win 9 out of 10, put all that to bed. And now you got the Pacers coming in to the Garden, and the Knicks could not get a stop when they had to get a stop in this game. And that's what it came down to. And the Pacers, obviously shorthanded, but they played so hard. And so the narrative that's out there about, well, teams are not trying to win, certain teams are not going to be trying to win the rest of the year. I didn't see any of that out of the Indiana Pacers last night. Everything about them indicated they were there to win the game, and they eventually did win the game. And it was surprising that I think a lot more riding on this for the Knicks, and they were not able to come up with the key stops when they had to against this Pacers team.
And you mentioned stops. It wasn't just stops. It was offensive rebounds, second chance points. There was a point in the clutch of this game where it felt the Pacers got like 2 or 3 in a row, 2 or 3 opportunities in a row just off of second chance points. And to me, and some of these, one of these I think was on Josh Hart. Whoever Josh Hart's assignment was pulled a Josh Hart on him and basically just snuck around him, got the board, got a quick kick out for a 3. And it's just one of those things where the Knicks have been playing so well. And one of the reasons I'm buying the Knicks is they had been winning these margins lately. They had been the team that's fighting for position and getting physical, not giving you the easy stuff, just winning all those margins that are hustle and toughness and discipline stuff. And so for them to lose because of that was it just threw me for a loop a little.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the play you're talking about, there was a key offensive rebound. I think it was Nesmith.
I think it was, yep.
And there was 4 Knick jerseys like right there around the rim. At 4. And he was the only guy that went to the offensive boards for the Pacers, and he was able to just kind of outwork everybody. His anticipation on it was really good. He kind of read the direction that the ball was going to come off and beat everybody to the spot, a really important time in the game. So, I mean, this is one of those games, it's like for Mike Brown and the Knicks, you think, okay, we've gotten some stuff figured out. You're feeling pretty good about your team. You're going into last night, 2 games till the break. You got the Pacers at home, and then now in this back-to-back with Philly, which is what a great way to end, this segment of the schedule. And then you get your time off, but a matchup with the Sixers, who are still so interesting in Philly. But you got to take care of business in the Pacers game. It's really important, and Mike Brown's going to look at the tape, and it doesn't not like all of a sudden everything they've done over the last 3 weeks is erased. But at the same time, you're looking at your defense, and you still know that there are questions that I think shouldn't be there like a lot of nights. Now, look, and you didn't have Mitchell Robinson, which is a big part of this. He's a big part of what you do defensively. He's a huge part of controlling the glass. He gets you all kinds of second chances. You didn't have him. That's a major loss in the game, but it's still a game that at home you need to take care of. And the fact that they just could not at any point string together 2-3 stops in a row and get a 5 or 6 point cushion at some point in the fourth quarter, which I think would have taken care of the game. They just couldn't do it. And you saw some frustration on their part that they were not able to do that. So now they have, another opportunity against Philly and see if they can rebound from last night and get this win on the road in Philadelphia tonight. And maybe that'll help them forget about this one, because they gave up 137 points. I mean, it was an overtime game, but still that against a team that's got 14 wins. So, you have to be better than that defensively when the situations call for it, so you can get out of there with a win.
It's also one of these things going into the break. The Knicks were just there tied with the Celtics for the 2 seed. They climb all the way up. They dropped this one and they got the Sixers tonight. You drop that one, you might drop all the way down to 4. And I know it's a small thing and these are games. They're going to go up and down. But the All-Star break is a week you have to sit on whatever just happened. And going, winning 9 of 10 but dropping 2 before the break, it's one of those things where it's just like a bit of a momentum halt. So I kind of feel like tonight is an important one for the Knicks.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think Philadelphia probably feels the same way because look, the Knicks – still, our team, they're any way you slice it, they're one of the teams that has a real run at the Eastern Conference this year, a real chance at a run to get through the conference into the NBA Finals. And so if you're the Sixers, this team that has dealt with all that instability in their lineup at the start of the year, Embiid in and out all the time, Paul George missed time at the start of the year. They were able to keep their head above water with this great backcourt. Now Embiid's starting to really find his rhythm, consistently dominating offensively every night again. Yes, now, they got to deal with this Paul George suspension. He'll be back right before the playoffs, looks like. But they're a very interesting team. They're just sort of sitting there, and I don't think they even care necessarily where they're seated. If they've got Joel Embiid feeling fresh and they've got Paul George back at that time of the year, and this rookie in Edgecombe who doesn't play like one, they feel like they've got as good a chance as anybody in the East. So this is a big matchup, and it's a great way for the Eastern Conference to kind of finish up here as we head into the break with the Knicks and the Sixers going at it.
Kind of like just looking at the standings, it is a huge swing game because right now you're 3 up in the loss column on the Sixers. If the Sixers get this one, that cuts it to 2 games. You go to the All-Star break and say, we got to make up 2 games. We can be the 2 seed potentially. That's a big deal, man. All of these teams in the East have to be looking around and just thinking like, okay, anything is possible here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is possible. Should make for some interesting. So me and Jason Tim pre-recorded a show that's going to drop next Monday that was about our most interesting players for the back half of the season. Coming out of the All-Star break, who are the swing players that could affect it? You made your own list. You called them pendulum guys. These are guys that could swing. Maybe it's the standings. Maybe it's the playoff race, a playoff matchup. And you have a list here of 3, right? Is it 3 you put together?
I put down actually 5, but we can do as many as you want.
Yeah, let's do 5. I like 5. So let's get into it. We might take a break halfway through it, but let's go into these. And real quick, did I describe it right? That's how you're thinking of this.
Yeah, but I think, there's a couple ways you can go on this. You could kind of pick out some really important role players, or maybe guys that are their second or third best player on a team, and it's critical of them. I'm looking at some of the star players with my list, and why they could be the difference for their teams, like how they play. And it seems like maybe you think, well, that's obvious. Like star players have to play great, but specifically what they can do, and then questions about can they do it? Is there time now to do it this year? Can they get it done? That's kind of how I approached it. And I think for me, I had 2 guys in the East, 3 guys in the West.
Okay.
So my first guy in Eastern Conference is the best player on the best team right now. It's Cade Cunningham. And the reason I say Cade Cunningham is because I watched him the other night in that Charlotte game, and in a game that the fight broke out. Just watching his performance and watching him all year. And I'm looking at this guy saying, this guy is so good. He is so good. Yet this team doesn't have any history of winning together in the postseason. They played a tough series last year in the first round, and they got beat by the Knicks, right? So they don't really know what that feels like to get through winning 4 games in a series and advancing and then doing it again and again. Cade Cunningham is so good in his control of the game, and really there is no answer for Cade Cunningham. The way that he plays, he's so patient, but so strong. He's quicker than you think. So because we always talk about his pace and his size, and like he plays this methodical game. He's got plenty of burst, and he's got a quick change of direction with his handle when he wants to show it to you. And that's what I love about his game. He has both. He has the quick burst. He has the athletic ability to separate from guys. But then he's got this other aspect to his game with the size and the strength and the poise and playing under control so he can see the floor and beat you with his passing if it requires that. He's got great leadership. He always looks the same. His face is always the same. And I love guys like that because it shows you they're all business. He is all business. And that's why I'm saying to myself, wow, they haven't won a playoff series yet. Is Cade Cunningham that good, though, that he possibly could direct this team to 3 series wins and get them in the NBA Finals, where you go from not winning a round to all the way to the NBA Finals from one season to the next? This guy might be good enough to do that, and if he puts together one of those runs and wins you a couple games damn near by himself in each round, which he's capable of, the Detroit Pistons could find themselves in the NBA Finals.
It's an interesting take because I feel like Cade is just so consistent. You know, like I almost feel like with him, I know what we're gonna get in the playoffs. But to your point, when you do get to the playoff point, they have to win 4, and right now they're expected to. They're up 6 games in the standings. So in a weird way, we should be just talking about them like we talk about Oklahoma City, comfortably ahead of the pack. And yet it still comes down to that. Do you think, my concern for Cade Cunningham is they don't have a great shooting, and I don't think they have great secondary creation. Do you think that the playoffs are almost setting him up for failure? Because in the playoffs, teams are going to say, okay, what do we do to make life difficult for him, and can anybody else beat us?
And that's my whole point with bringing his name up, because that's what I wonder. Is he good enough anyway? And to my point, you just brought up some limitations on their roster with their shooting and their other guys. And that's even more a reason why I said Cade Cunningham first. He might have to be that good and be extra special in those moments because the rest of their guys are inconsistent. Look, Jalen Duren's had a great year. He's an all-star year, but he's also a big guy. Like, in some nights that scoring can fluctuate. And then beyond him, Tobias Harris, Duncan Robinson, Asar Thompson, like right on down the line, you're not exactly sure from night to night what that's going to look like from those guys, which is why it's even more important that Cade Cunningham, as great a year as he's had, has to be even better and probably more efficient in the playoffs. And he might just be good enough to do that despite the extra attention he's going to get. And that's why he's so fascinating to me. I can't wait to see what Cade Cunningham's playoff run looks like this year because of how special of a player I think he is and how much his team is going to need him to be great every night with some of the fluctuations they're going to have with the rest of those guys in their scoring.
I do feel like we collectively, we being, NBA fans, not even just like media members or analysts or whatever, but just NBA fans are a little late to the party on Cade. Everybody knows he's great, but he honestly, he might be higher in the standings. When we just talk about players that can carry a team, he might be higher than he even gets credit for. And maybe it's because you have to have a playoff run before people start talking about that. I think that's a big part of it, is you have to see it in the playoffs. But I do, I agree in the one part that it's entirely possible we walk out of this playoff run, this playoffs this year, and get into the summer, and we say, is he a top 5 player? Like, is he top 4? Like, how great can he be? It's on the table for him, but you got to do it in the postseason, even when teams are loading up and you have weaknesses on your roster. All right, who's the next guy on your list?
I'm going to stay in the East. I'm going to go with Joel Embiid, the other guy we talked about a little bit. It's got to be Embiid.
He was on my list too.
He has to be on there. And there was a play in their last game, in the Phoenix game, about 4 minutes left in the third quarter, and just go pull it up and watch it, because you probably don't remember off the top of your head if you saw the game. He had a play where he was guarding Mark Williams at basically between the top of the key and the 3-point line, and everything was kind of cleared out. All the shooters were spaced out, so Mark Williams had this like swing through, really quick sweep through, and then just went left-handed to the rim, and Embiid was beaten. And his reaction, the quickness of his reaction and tracking and pursuing Williams to the rim, and then blocking his shot up by the top of the square when he thought he had an uncontested layup, I was kind of like, oh man, because you just don't see that very often out of Embiid anymore. So it tells me some of the things you see out of him when he looks a little sluggish defensively or not explosive, I think it's more of that is calculated and by design than we think, because he's just sheer math. The fewer times he does that kind of stuff, the less likely he lands funny and something happens, right? And he falls to the ground, or he hurts a knee, or whatever it may be. And here we go again with Embiid banged up in the postseason. That play showed me so much of how much closer he is to his peak form defensively. Offensively, the guy's putting on monster numbers every night because he's such a great shooter. He's such a great shooter. He does very little damage in the paint anymore. It's amazing. He's this monstrous guy, and most of his work is done 15 feet and beyond. Yeah. And obviously a ton of free throws, because he doesn't really post up all that much and score in the post. He shoots jumpers all night, and he makes them at a high rate because he's such a great offensive player. That's always there. For me, if he didn't change defensively the way he looked, I couldn't see them really advancing past these teams. it's in there, and you see flickers of it here and there. Hopefully I'll see some of that tonight in the game I'm calling to emphasize it even more. But he is so great, Adam, and potentially such a dominant force that he can swing how things go in the Eastern Conference.
100% agree. If you go to scoring by month legs, October he averaged 17 a game, November 22, December 26, January 30, and so far in February 31. I mean, that's just steps up. Every month it's a step up, in his scoring. And right now it's like 30, pencil him in for 30 points a game. You're shocked if he's below it. That's dominance. And it's why I can't quit the Sixers. I've tried to quit them like 5 times this year, and I still look at the East and I go, yeah, but look, why can't they do it?
And part of it is because of who they have and the guy we're talking about. And let's be honest, part of it is because you look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, you go, okay, well, who are the recent teams that broke through? Well, Boston doesn't have Tatum. Maybe they get him, maybe they don't. Halliburton's not there. They're clearly not the same team. You look at a team like the Knicks, haven't been there. Yeah. Pistons haven't won a round. Right? The Toronto Raptors, I think, have surprised us with how good they are, but it's been a long time since, and then not with this group, since that organization has been there. So I think it's in part because of who Philly has. And I think in part of it is also just because there's still a lot to be proven by these other teams, Cleveland, another team. Like, they've had disappointments the last couple of years in the postseason. So it's like a massive benefit of the doubt you'd have to give them. And I think that's why we still both feel the door is very much open for Philadelphia, and you just can't ignore them. I'm not going to sit here today and say I'm putting a bunch of money on the Sixers to get to the finals, but You can't dismiss the fact that the potential is there to do something like that.
Here's a question I have for you, and it's not a hot take question. I'm asking this sincerely. Is there a potential that Joel Embiid is the best player in any series they could go into in the Eastern Conference? By the time the playoffs arrive, is it possible he's just the best player possible in a series?
Absolutely, it's possible. Yeah, that's definitely possible. It's not like beginning of the year. If you'd asked me that question, the way he looked his first, 5 to 10 games, I would have said no. I would have said no. That's not possible. That's not possible. When you look at the teams we're talking about them playing, like you're saying, okay, the way he looked early, is it even possible he could outplay Jalen Brunson if they got the Knicks in a 7-game series? Could he outplay Cade Cunningham in a 7-game series? We both would have said no chance. The way that he looked, you see him now and you go, absolutely, that's possible. Because, and again, it's particularly if the rebounding numbers could have an uptick, the defensive presence continues to emerge to what it was. Yes, it is possible. I still think it might be a little bit of a risky bet because of his track record with, physically the way he looks at that time of the year typically, but it's absolutely possible. If they're managing him the way that they are, that he's fresher than he's ever been and feeling better than he's been in the postseason when it starts, then yes, he's that good.
I think that's a big part of what wins playoff series. Do you have the best player on the court, especially when you talk about a vulnerable one, like, a vulnerable race where every team has some kind of weakness in the East. And it's why I can't quit them. It's why I look at this and just go, And the last thing I'll say here, Legs, and I don't know if you agree or disagree, Embiid's had a tumultuous, 16 months, whatever, with the injuries and everything else. Since winning the MVP, basically, it hasn't been great. I wonder if the best spot for him right now is as an underdog. Right now, like, they could climb and be the 2 seed. It's right there within striking range. But I almost wonder if they're more suited this year to be a 6 or 7 or 5 or 6 seed or something like that, where it's like, hey, nobody's really counting on them. And you go out there and it's like, hey, we're the underdogs and everything. Now there's a little pressure that's off. People thought I was going to retire a year ago if things were so bad. And it puts them in the perfect spot to kind of make a surprise run.
Yeah. And the other thing, they're going to get, and look, it's not certainly what they wanted and not what Paul George wanted, but the truth is when players that are really important have some sort of rest, and usually it's because of an injury at some point in the second half of the year. Now, 25 games is extreme, and it's really taking you close up to the start of the playoffs. But those guys, their legs are so fresh that when the playoffs start, they have a freshness to them that other guys don't have. If a guy has some sort of a wrist or elbow or shoulder, something that keeps him out for a few weeks at that time of the year, February, March into early April, it's amazing how much better their legs feel than everybody else on the court when the playoffs start. So they could be getting him back at a key time. And we've already talked about the year Maxi's had. Edgecombe's been great. They've got other guys on that team. Quentin Grimes is an interesting player. Oubre, it's a lot of talent. That's a lot of talent on that team, man.
I know. I can't quit the Sixers legs. I just can't do it.
I hear you.
Let's take a break. You got your Western Conference pendulum guys on the other side, so we'll get into that. If you're enjoying the show, make sure that you are subscribed. We're doing this, me and Legs, 2 times a week. We got 2 other shows, one with Jason Timpf, one with Mark Stein. You want us to be locked on this channel at all times. We'll be back after this break. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all of the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. I'm putting in an entry right now for Nuggets and the Grizzlies tonight. This is the team I know. It's going to be a blowout. Cam Johnson, 1.5 3-pointers, higher. Jonas Valanciunas, 5.5 rebounds, higher. Nikola Jokic, 0.5 triple-doubles, higher. Jalen Wells, 1.5 3-pointers, higher. Somebody has to score on the Grizzlies tonight. I have no idea who it's going to be. Nobody is playing. It's going to be a crazy game. Download the app today. Use promo code ALLNBA to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code ALLNBA. Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado. For some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Also want to tell you guys about Shopify. What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up? How about now? Thinking about starting your own business, or maybe there's something you want to sell from the comfort of your home? Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Shopify even powers the All City merch store. Shopify has got you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email and social media marketing, and so much more. They also have AI tools designed to help you maximize sales. So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA show. Hit that like button for us. Hop in the chat, talk along if you're watching live, or leave a comment below. Legs, you got 3 Western Conference pendulum guys. Let's hear the first one.
All right, I'm going to start with your guy, Jamal Murray.
Oh, it's such a big one.
Jamal Murray, man. Look, he's best year of his career. When Jamal Murray looks like this, going into a playoff run, right, really good things are going to happen, because he now is a difference maker in terms of winning individual games within series, because he's so good. You know what you're going to get out of Jokic. We know how special Jokic will be across the board. They've got some other interesting guys too. Peyton Watson was another guy I was thinking about potentially, like the way he's played, and just having another guy that's that big of a threat now going into a playoff run. But it really is about Murray, because Jamal Murray, when he plays like this, can take over games. And what that means for Nikola Jokic, you can't overstate that in terms of getting through what you're going to have to. This is going to be a gauntlet. 3 rounds in the Western Conference, right? We know that's no joke what you're going to have to do. And Jamal Murray is playing so well. He's capable now of being the difference on given nights in winning games because of spurts that he has, the way he closes games, big shots that he's going to make in the fourth quarters of these games. So for me, it's Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray looks this good and is playing this well, and he's so good with pressure on him. This to me is like a tipping point potentially for Denver.
To me, it's so huge. I mean, if you look at the series Denver has won, Jamal Murray has been great in them. And if you look at the series they have lost, he has been shut down or managed. Somebody has been able to make an impact to where he wasn't that type of player. And I think in previous years, there have been questions about the shape or this or that. He has been consistently great. He was an easy all-star pick this year. He was never even like on the snub list in previous years. He was an easy pick this year. And so my confidence in him being great in the playoffs is pretty high. But here's my question, Legs. Minnesota is physical in their backcourt. Big bodies, physical. Oklahoma City, physical. They're not as big and long, but they're very physical. San Antonio, very physical in their backcourt with how they defend you. That has been the thing that slows him down. He's not the quickest twitch guy, so when you get into him, you can get away with a little physicality. You get beat by a little bit, and he uses like side steps and back. That like his game is more craft than speed. And so physicality seems to bother him. And I just look at the Western Conference and I go, all your best teams are very physical in the backcourt. So I think he's having his best year ever. I expect his best playoffs ever, but I also expect it to be the toughest playoffs he's ever gone through because he's going to have multiple series where the game plan is get physical with him, with our big physical backcourt players.
But he's also feeling right. And I think he's had a couple of recent playoffs where he wasn't right physically. And that's going to matter against that type of defense. It's just a little difference in separation, in lift, when you have to go to a step back, when you go to a mid-range, getting all the way to the rim. When you feel physically right, it's a big difference. Even if it's 10% more burst, 10% more lift, it's a big difference maker. It makes you a more efficient player, and he looks like he's right. And that's why I think Jamal Murray, I went east and west. Jamal Murray might be at the very top of the list in terms of guys that can swing how the postseason goes.
Yeah, I think he's right there as well. I think it's a really good pick. And if Denver's going to win the championship this year, he is going to win a lot of playoff games for them. It's not just going to be Jokic. He's going to be the difference maker in a handful of them. All right, who's the next one on your list?
Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama, man. And listen, you're looking at this team, and they've obviously beaten OKC now 4 times. The last time, OKC didn't really have anybody on the court, but they beat them 3 times in a row. And there's something to that. That's not like, they caught him on an off night. If that's two times, maybe even you could say, okay, they outplayed him on those given nights 3 times in a row. There's something to that. So now the question becomes, can Victor Wembanyama, is he ready right now to do what it's going to take to lead this team, be as consistent offensively as he needs to be? We expect him to be dominant defensively every night. Can he do it? Is he already at the point that he can lead this team past a team like Oklahoma City, past a team like Denver, and get this team to the NBA Finals? And that's why it's such an intriguing question. We know what it looks like most nights. Is that going to be enough against that level of competition? And look, it's not just him, by the way. They have a very good team. They have a lot of help around him. But for me, he's the guy that's that true differentiating factor on given nights, because there's not a lot you can do with him on certain nights when he is making outside shots and he gets things going offensively. That's why, to me, he's one of the most intriguing players in the league as we head down the stretch.
And it's why the playoffs, see, even down the stretch, to me, I'm not so sure of, because I just feel like in the regular season, we've already seen it. I think the Spurs are going to do exactly what they have done all year in the back half, assuming they can stay healthy. The question for me is, in the postseason, what do teams drum up? And tell me if you agree with this, Legs. I think in the playoffs are when teams find new schemes to throw at you. So the deeper you go in a playoffs, the whole league is watching. And when you're a great team, it's like, oh, how do you stop this team? And everybody's throwing stuff at the wall, trying to see what kind of read they can get on, oh, they struggle at this, and we do this. And that's the thing I'm wondering about Victor Wembanyama. He's clearly so dominant defensively that there's nothing anybody has really figured out to like really bother him. But in a playoff series, I'm just curious, is there something a team can do that's like, wow, they managed to put him in an uncomfortable spot? And then it becomes a thing the whole league tries, and now he has to figure it out, him and the Spurs. And that's what I'm so curious about. I think he's going to be dominant all the way through the playoffs defensively. Offensively, we'll see. He has it in him, but we'll see. Defensively, he'll be dominant, but I'm curious if any team can mitigate his dominance, bring him out on the floor, out top, or constantly get him away from the basket, something that causes him to be ineffective.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a harder time coming up with something offensively against the Spurs to negate his greatness defensively. That's just tough because of the ground he covers and the versatility that he has defensively and the length. But the other end of the floor, that's a big question mark, because what's going to happen to him as you get into the playoffs, they let you get a little bit more handsy. They just do. And
yeah,
so what I was talking about earlier with like his how low he has to get to be quick enough to beat some of these mid-sized defenders that guard him effectively. now you've got hands up into his waist, up into his torso a little bit more. It's even harder for him. And he's not going to get maybe some of those calls that put them in the penalty in the regular season. Won't get some of those in the postseason. Everything about the physicality of the game picks up. And we all want that as fans. You want that to let them play a little bit more. You're going to get that in the postseason. That's something that remains to be seen. How is he going to handle that when it hits him? And just the creativity that you get when you have him every game for 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row with these coaching staffs coming up with different ways to get him out of his comfort zone, different ways to send traffic at him that he didn't see coming, different ways to make him take shots that are a win for you defensively, even if he makes it. There are more opportunities for coaches to come up with schemes. The more you see a guy over and over and over, he's going to have to figure out how to navigate that too offensively. That's why I think that end of the floor is going to be much more challenging for him. I don't think there's any real way to totally negate what he brings defensively.
I agree. Maybe it's just teams attack. I don't know, something, but trying to go at him. He gets 8 blocks in a game, but fouls out, something like that. I don't know. I'm just curious to see what it is that teams are trying on that end. But yes, on the offensive end, I'm curious. The one thing I'll say is, if he's able to pull this off, if the Spurs make a run this year to the finals or even win the thing, so it just would feel to me so ahead of schedule. It would be one of those things where immediately the conversations start with, oh my God, what are we entering a whole new paradigm in the NBA? So,
but wait a second though. I hear you. You're right. But isn't that what we just said last year about OKC?
I mean, and the year before, of course, we've said it about a lot of teams.
Right? I mean, it's like, wait a second. I thought this was their decade coming up. Like that, no one's, the league's in trouble, and they might still be. Don't get me wrong. They still have the best record in the NBA. Just relative to the start they had, people are acting like, well, now they're super vulnerable. Remains to be seen if they are or not. But they're so young. They got their top guys all locked up. They're going to have to reinvent Oklahoma City, their supporting cast over time. And that may be something as to why they picked up Jared McCain. Just saying, he could factor in big for them next year from Philly, because they can't pay all of those role players. So it's going to be interesting to see how they reshuffle the deck. But you're right. San Antonio, like making a deep run or knocking them off this year. Yeah. I mean, we're going to be like, okay, now we got this race with these two franchise players that are still young, with young supporting cast. Maybe that's what the next decade looks like. These two teams take turns, and then you still got Denver out there with Jokic. So, man, the West is incredible. But the Spurs have a chance to make a real statement, how close they are now, like this year, and then we're going to find out.
Well, I meant less even about the Spurs, because I do think it's hard in today's modern landscape to win a bunch in a row. We'll see if they can do it. But I more just meant Wemby. Like right now, everybody knows Wemby is one of the best players in the league. He's 22 years old. You make a deep playoff run this year, you might officially become the best player in the league. Going forward, it's like, okay, well, he's the best player and he's 22. So is this going to be a LeBron situation where he holds that crown for 10 years? Again, I think that's delayed a little bit, but you make a deep playoff run this year. I just think as we enter the next year saying, okay, best player in the league is Wembanyama. And it's,
what would be interesting about that? Now, do you think that Victor Wembanyama this year will get much in terms of MVP votes?
I don't know. I mean, at the moment, you're looking at nobody else as a candidate except for Shea and maybe Cade Cunningham, because everybody else is going to be eliminated from contention with a 65-game rule. So maybe he gets a little bit. And I guess my point with that was going to be, how many guys have gone from, like, obviously, we know he's a great player, but hasn't really gotten like MVP consideration to boom because of one postseason run and because of the unique nature of his skill set and size, best player in the league. Like when the year before, wasn't even in that current season's voting at the end of the year, wasn't really threatening to be an MVP. Now, boom, best player in the league before he starts a game the following year. It'd be interesting to see, but a lot of it, you're right, man. These reputations and the way we view guys is determined by what happens from April 15th to June 15th. And that's the truth. And now we've got to see what the Spurs are capable of this year, because every single person out there has to admit this has happened faster than we thought. They're sitting here with the second best record in the Western Conference. All right, with 29 games left. Nobody saw them this high in the West. Yeah. So it's here before we thought.
Now let's see what they have in their first playoff run with expectations.
I would say I think Wemby has like a 90% chance or higher of being considered pretty unanimously the best player in the league in 2 years' time. But the question now is, can it actually be in 2 months' time? Like we speed things along, and it is possible. It's on the table. All right, who's your last guy for the
the last guy is Kevin Durant. And it's just because of like what he's probably going to have to do for the Houston Rockets. And look, it could be even to win a round. Honestly, they could be the 3 seed. You get a team like Minnesota or the Lakers or somebody like that, like in the first round, like that's not going to be some gimme for the Rockets. So, and what it's going to require out of Kevin Durant because of that team, it's so crazy to me. They're 33-19. They've won 7 out of 10. And it feels like the constant tone and narrative around the Rockets is not necessarily always positive. You know what I mean? But here they are, the 3rd in the Western Conference, but there's something like we look at them and go, man, something's missing. Something's missing with this team. So that means that Durant is going to have to like put them on his back offensively in critical stretches of games and make big shots for them to win even a round, much less 2 or 3 rounds. So that's why I put Kevin Durant up there, because that team, they're going to need everything he has, and Kevin Durant being his absolute best in the playoffs.
I still am pretty skeptical about Houston. I'm not skeptical about Kevin Durant, what he can do in a playoffs or any of that stuff. I'm just skeptical that all the pieces have come together or will come together in this last little bit. But it would be a big deal for Kevin Durant to make a deep playoff run just because he was carrying them, which he's 100% capable of. So I think he's an interesting one. Any final thoughts on KD?
No, man. No, I'm just, this is the break's coming now, and everybody's going to get their time off. Some guys are going to go participate in this, and then we reconvene after the break. And I think that the intensity level of some of these matchups of these teams that we're talking about that are in the mix and like the statements that we're trying to make on a nightly basis is going to be fascinating.
I agree. All right, let's move on. Let's real quickly look at the All-Star game here, because we have the rosters now. They're doing the weird setup. So you have the USA Stars team, the USA Stripes team, and then the World team. And if we look at this, Legs, I don't know if you've even looked at these rosters quite yet. Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, that's who's anchoring that first team, the Stars team. If you go to the Stripes, it's a little bit of the old guard. You got Steph Curry who'll be out. You got Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Jalen Brunson. And then, of course, the World team is going to be a juggernaut with Victor Wembanyama making his debut in the All-Star game, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic. So if you just look at this, what stands out to you about how they broke up the rosters?
Well, it's obvious what they were trying to do. Of course, you have the World team, and then the other 2 teams, you got the younger guys and the older guys. I mean, it's really kind of fascinating how they did it. And, we're not going to get to see Steph Curry, which is a shame, because to see that
would have made
collection
it a lot more
of those veteran guys, it's like almost like revisiting what we saw in the Olympics, with those 3 guys together. It would have been pretty awesome to see. Here's the thing about these All-Star games and the way that they're played. And this is another, they're trying to tweak the format to just continue to try to create more interest around the game. But the way the games are played aren't going to change from recent times, which is going to be a ton of threes. 3 after 3 after 3 after 3. So when you look at it, I know on paper, you look at the World team and you go, like, if this were like, you're really going to go play a best of 7, I don't know that anybody would bet against the World team.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not what this is. This is a 12-minute at a time All-Star game with a lot of threes taken. So do you think like the size and maybe the little bit of streakiness with some of those guys with their shooting, like maybe they're not the favorite in this format, right? And maybe it's that veteran group, even without Curry, because of the way those guys can fill it up from outside is more so than the World team.
It's an interesting thought.
Or do you like the younger Team USA?
I don't know who's going to go hard. And I was thinking about this. We all wonder about LeBron's future a little bit. I still think he's going to play at least another season, if not a couple more. How hard he goes in this one will probably tell a little bit about that, because the last All-Star game for like legendary players is always a big deal. Like you think back to, Magic's last All-Star game and all, Kobe's last one. It was like a big thing. And so LeBron, I don't know if he's going to go all out for this one, because that to me kind of factors in a little bit of how I feel about this. There's a lot of young players playing in their first All-Star game that I'm curious are going to go hard, and nobody more so than Victor Wembanyama. You know, in his debut, he is having a moment. He just put up this huge point total, and he's talked, you know, for a year now about how if he makes an All-Star game, he's going to be going really, really hard. And I'm just kind of curious. That's the thing. When I watch these rosters and how they're split up, I get what you're saying with the old guard. I just wonder if they're going to play hard. My prediction is that team, the old guard All-Star team, is actually going to be the team that puts the less effort into this.
Well, there's also something else that goes on with these games. All right. And it's typically what happens is there will be 3-4 guys that come out early. And of course, everybody's shooting the ball whenever they get it for the most part. 3 or 4 guys are going to get hot early in the game. Right. And right there, go ahead and write those names down. Those are the guys that one of those guys is going to be MVP because that's the way it works. Everybody comes out, dips their toe in the water. You string together 3-4 threes. And now it's like, okay, who's going for the MVP tonight? And I wonder if there would be any sentiment if that were LeBron to come out, make some threes in the beginning, like he puts up a big scoring number in that first run, that it's almost like a collective amongst them that like, okay, we want him to have this MVP at this stage of his career, an All-Star game MVP. And would that affect kind of the way that their mentality was about it and how hard they play? We don't know until we see this, what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Who's going to play hard? Who isn't? Who's going to take this more seriously? And we know that these games typically, man, have not been great for big guys. You know, it's just not their style of game or whatever. Jokic is a poster child for that. It, you know what I mean? As great as the guy is, like this is not his defender. It's not his format, man. And so
it might be this year though, Legs. Him and Jamal Murray together. It might be this year. Him and Luka. We'll see.
We'll see, man. We'll see. I'm curious to see after that first game. You know, it's a round robin, so they're all going to play. They're going to play each other once.
Yeah,
you'll have a really good idea. Okay, who is kind of factoring into winning, trying to win, and is going to get the support from his team to help him win MVP.
Yeah. One of the things is just the size difference, man. That team world is so huge, and I don't know if maybe it's boring, but in theory, they're going to have like 3 guys bigger than the biggest guy on any of the other teams. So we'll see what happens. Is there one player you're most excited to see in the All-Star game this year?
Oh man,
is it the easy answer? That's Wemby, or is there somebody else?
Yeah, I think Wemby would probably be the one.
Bring him back up, Atticus.
Just to see like what he's. Cade Cunningham would be another one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We'll see how hard he goes. And I'm just always curious about who are the guys that are most going to take this seriously. And I think Wemby is a great choice. I think Jamal Murray is a great choice, to be honest with you. He's wanted this for a while.
I got a sleeper pick for putting up monster numbers and possibly stealing the MVP, Tyrese Maxey.
I like it, man. This game is designed for him.
Think about it. I mean, yeah, because he's so fast that it's like no one's stopping you. So you can go to the rim whenever he wants and score. But he's also got that other thing. Like he's that rare combination with blazing speed with unlimited range and a really high percentage 3-point shooter. So like he's the kind of guy that can string together 4 or 5 threes in a very short period of time early. And now he's in the mix for MVP. So he's like my sleeper guy to have a monster game, monster weekend.
All right, let's move on now real quickly just to wrap up the show. Have a little bit of fun here. The dunk contest, not worth talking about. We've already talked about the 3-point contest. The dunk contest to me this year, not necessarily worth talking about. But I thought it'd be more fun to get your all-time dunk contest participants. If you could build a four-person all-time, dream simulation or whatever it is that you could put together of these 4 guys, who would it be? Who's on your list?
Well, I'll start off with the 2 guys that you just would have to see in the same dunk contest because we didn't ever get to see it. Michael Jordan and Vince Carter.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. They were 1-2 on my list too.
They have to be. I still think the most, wow factor dunk contest I've ever seen is Vince Carter's performance, 2000.
I agree.
But
easily too.
Yeah. And then, you get Michael Jordan, who was incredible. And just obviously, the best player on the planet participating in that, the buzz that creates. And then he could, of course, deliver with any kind of dunk necessary. So further, I would start there. Those 2 guys in the same dunk contest, like in their prime. Come on, man. Like they wouldn't get any better than that. And then to round it out, I would go with another like older player in Julius Erving.
Yeah.
I'd have to see the doctor, man, the flair that he had for it, how easy he made all the one-hand stuff that he was doing, like catching the ball right off the dribble with one hand and swooping in and all that. And again, just this electrifying showman He'd have to be part of it. And then the fourth spot, I was kind of like Dominique. I was thinking about Dominique Wilkins, but then I was like, man, I'm having a hard time getting the performance of Zach LaVine put on out of my head. And I think I'd go Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine, just go back, YouTube it, just look at all of his dunks that night.
They were pretty great.
In that head-to-head with Aaron Gordon, and how spectacular Zach LaVine was that night. I would put him in it too, because he did some stuff that I did not think was possible physically.
I considered all of those guys. I consider Jason Richardson as well, because he had one of my most memorable dunk contests, some great dunks. Aaron Gordon was obviously great. I ended up going with controversial one.
Oh,
LeBron James.
Oh,
never did it. Never did the dunk contest. But in this scenario, I can force him. He has to go out there and do it with Jordan and Vince. And he just was, I don't know if he was an artistic dunker, but I think he could have been if he was forced to do it. His athleticism in his prime was absolutely silly.
Yeah, I thought of him too, obviously, and he never did it. So that's a great reason, that alone, just to see what that would look like. And particularly if Jordan was in that same competition, you know what I mean? Because now you got the whole GOAT conversation, and now here they are in that. But for me, the reason I didn't is because I always view him as more of just a power dunker.
Yeah.
And some of the other creative flair and the hang time stuff is what you associate more with Carter and Michael Jordan and Dr. J and guys like that. With LeBron, it's just that sheer raw force and power. Yeah. And it's unbelievable, but I don't know that that's always necessarily translates to the dunk contest, and it's a shame he never did it. I wish he had. The best time would have been one of those first couple years in the league, right? Get it out of your way, like Kobe did. Yeah. Get it out of your way, do it, and then you can say you did it. So it's a shame that the fans never got to see him involved in that.
He's a power dunker, but he jumps so high and his body has such coordination that I actually think he could have made some awesome power dunks. But if you hate that one, you're going to really hate this one, but I actually believe it. The next one I have is Zion Williamson. I know it's a recent pick, but to me, he's also a power dunker. But his dunks just look different. Even if he's just doing like a 360 with a lean or something, like a dunk that we've all seen before. When he does it, it looks like different than everybody else doing it. So if you gave me Vince Carter, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Zion Williamson, I would be very entertained.
Well, I sent a note to Atticus, and I said, we should also have a real quick, just because, some of these guys have been out of the league for a long time. So let's give a little nod to the current guys. So that would be one of yours, obviously. So if I could have 4 guys in it now that I think would generate incredible amount of buzz and excitement.
Yeah, right now.
It would
current
be
players.
Zion.
Okay.
Anthony Edwards. John Morant.
Yeah, he might have lost it.
And Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah. John Morant, I'm curious about. He still can get up and do some stuff, but I don't know if he's in the exact same
I think for something like that, he would be. It's what's different about John now is he doesn't do it in game as much because he got laid out too many times and he wanted to keep playing basically because it got to the point where we think this guy's not going to survive this at his weight and size to be that high and get hit at all. He's flying through the air and landing from these incredible heights on a frame like that. It wasn't sustainable. So he's kind of altered the way he plays. But if he's feeling right and he could go participate in one of these, I still think because he's the smallest guy of the group, it would still be just so eye-popping what he could do in a dunk contest. So I think those guys would create an awful lot of electricity. Zion at the top of the list.
Well, there's one name you didn't mention that I'm very curious about, and it might go back to a good in-game dunker, power dunker, but maybe not a dunk contest one, although I don't know. Cooper Flagg. That guy gets up so effortlessly, and again, he's not doing some of the like John Morant is an acrobat in the air, but I kind of think he can just by virtue of how high he jumps when he's dunking the ball.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to see more of footage of him when he's messing around after practice.
He's mostly just punching it.
Yeah, because right now most of them are just he gets an angle on a guy, takes off, and he takes off. He soars and he extends it way back behind his head, and he just is able to go up. I always say his elevator goes to a different floor than the guy trying to block his shot. But but like the flair and creativity, like I'd love to see him get a breakaway and do like a 360, and then you go, okay, wow. So he's got some creativity to it too. That and like again, these guys all do this kind of stuff when they're messing around at practice. So I'm sure he's got some stuff, but most of what he does in the game now is like straight line dribble drive to his right hand and finish with a dunk. It's interesting because he shoots probably more shots in the lane, I think, with his left hand. But when it comes to dunking, man, he gets an angle on you with that right hand, and you're not going to get there in time or high enough.
I just have a suspicion he could actually do some stuff because his coordination is great. He does, awkward movements. He's very fluid. And then he just jumps so high. Like he gets off the ground so quick and gets so high on some of these dunks that it's unbelievable. He's a great in-game dunker. Absolutely fantastic. All right, we're going to get you out of here with FanDuel Duels of the Night, where we look ahead. The NBA's got 2 more nights on its schedule, and there's some good ones tonight, Legs. Hawks, Hornets. It's actually interesting. My Hornets are fun to watch no matter who they're playing. Bucks, Magic. Wizards, Cavs. Knicks, Sixers. You're on the call for that one. Pistons, Raptors. That's a good game too. Pistons, Raptors. Pacers, Nets might be the worst game ever played. We'll find out. Bulls, Celtics. Clippers, Rockets. That's a good game. I'm excited for that one. Heat, Pelicans. Blazers, Wolves. Thunder, Suns. Grizzlies, Nuggets. Kings, Jazz. Spurs, Warriors. You got your game tonight. Anything else that you think you're going to be box score watching?
No, man. That's the one. That's the one. The one I'm on. The one I'm on is the one I'm
on. It really is the game of the night.
That's right.
It really is the game of the night. Let's hope everybody plays. You can catch Legs on the Call tonight over on ESPN for that fantastic game. Only 2 more nights of NBA action before the All-Star break. We have a great episode on Friday. Me and Jason Tim pre-recorded our tiers. It's certain to make you mad. We put all of the contenders into tiers. No 2 lists are ever the same. His and mine were different. I promise you'll be upset about it, but it was a great conversation, and I want to get your feedback. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it, and hit the like button for us on the way out.
We all silly like the mayor.